Well,
How do I put this?
Hello.
Okay, great. All right, ladies and gentlemen,
they're not saying.
I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the board meeting for Thursday, the 23rd of June, 2002, okay? The first thing on our agenda will be to approve the minutes of our prior meeting. Excuse me. It's a big agenda today. Of May 26th. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. I see 7-0. That was nice and easy. Okay, well, our homes are selling like hotcakes. 7-0. Karen's not here, so it's 7-0. Okay, yes. Our homes are selling like hotcakes. We set a record. We have a home in this community that went for over $900,000.
How much?
Over 900,000. So, all right, so I signed us COAs for 78110 Reinhardt Drive and for 12204 Landrum, okay? I would like to take this time also to thank Mike Ross. Because of Mike, and you'll see it a little bit later, we were able to get with a new insurance company that's saving us a substantial sum of money. So I want to thank Mike for that, for his input. We greatly appreciate it, okay? Also, we had received some documentation from Mark Silber and from Len Grove. They had asked for a copy of the report from our paving company, and they wanted to do an inspection, and they started to look around, and they came up with some suggestions. I don't see either of them here this evening. Steve Golliff is going to be following up with them and discuss their findings with them. It's not a complete report. It's, you know, they took a few things and they made some assumptions. So we're willing to take a look after we get a final report to see if there is any way then that we can then meet with our paving contractor and see if there is a way possibly to save a few dollars. We are always open to that, okay? I think that is it for me. Oh wait, there is one thing. I'm going to mention it to Joe, and I'll mention it later. The president's meeting, they talked about cameras, what's called a sports camera that they put up on stop signs in some of the communities. And it stays up for an hour or two. It takes pictures. They have been able to find people, and you can move the stop signs it goes to. I'm going to let the security committee know about it and see if they can check it out, but it's called a sports camera, a Bushnell Trophy Cam HOE3, which costs like $100. So I'm happy maybe they can get some more information, and we would just move it around on what stop signs we put it, but the communities that have been doing it, the few, it has been very successful, and they have been fining people for running stop signs. There is hope. We can always hope, folks. Okay, thank you. Don, treasurer's report?
Well, I was going to add.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Continue.
I'd like to go back to that subject.
Okay.
Having the camera without action is not good, and I don't want it to have to go to a compliance committee. And we should make a ruling that if you're the first offense of going to a stop sign, the fine will be such. So this is not going to be any action. As soon as we get a license plate and a video of somebody going through it, we have to fine them. This is not a project that has to go through a whole procedure. Right now, we don't have that in Avalon. These communities you're talking about have in their system that they fine immediately.
Okay.
That's a week, yeah.
All right.
But we don't have.
Now, do we have to change the docs for that?
No,
No,
just
okay,
put-
so then we can just put together a motion with
Right.
what the fines will be. If you would like to present it to the board, Joe, that would be great. Thank you.
Well, and I'll only add on to that I was walking to the clubhouse the other day, and literally somebody was going so fast, I did this. And they just laughed at me.
Right.
No.
And you didn't.
Well, I could have stood in front of them and gotten killed, but I know that would have made you happy. But not you, the collective you.
May I speed sometimes?
Am I on now?
Yes,
Okay.
you're on.
I have I want everybody to say thank you before I start. I have very little to talk about tonight.
Thank you.
You'll get it when you get home.
You're on tape.
Like anything else, I keep always emphasizing, and I write it right on the documents. Any given month is weird. We always have to look at year to date. Our budgets are straight lined. So, for example, if we had $10,000 in berm replacements, This month, if there's berm replacement budget, it is spread over 12 months, so it's going to spike. Having said that, are we about done with berm replacements?
I hope so. There's no guarantee.
Okay.
We are literally, the bulk of the expenses that are exceeding budget are related to landscape repair.
Okay.
Berm, tree pulling. I'm not pointing fingers.
Okay.
Please. Go ahead, Sue. I mean,
No, what I'm gonna say is, if the expense is over, then we have to stop for the year.
Yep.
That's it.
thank you. That's all. If you look at the numbers, what you'll see is that we
Okay.
have
I mean,
spiked.
look.
No, ma'am. We spiked now, and I always say you have to look at the full year, not a single month. So in a single month, we really spiked, but we need to focus on where we are for the full year. And if we're kind of pretty much, blowing over, we need to say, hey, we don't need to do it at this point.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. We've said that before. There's a point where we have to say we have to do the need to
Right.
versus the want to.
Okay. You're right.
So our numbers look a little weird this month because we had some, and that was another question that came up to me, was we still have ongoing tree removals that are not related to the project, correct?
I believe there may be some.
Yeah, there was like about $12,000 from Clean and Green for some more tree removals, which the date was such that it would have been clearly before the
The 132.
the 132. So the numbers are what they are. They're pretty much kind of where we expect. Thankfully, we're running very positive on the capital contributions because the sales are much better than anybody, including yours truly, would have expected. So let them roll, okay? The audit is done, except, believe it or not, they're still waiting for invoices from Castle. They need documentation from Castle to close the audit, and they still don't have it. Again, enough said, okay? But from our perspective, the audit's clean. Management comments were pretty standard, so nothing serious. No, that's not like you guys are doing something really goofy or whatever. Pretty straightforward. From a investment/interest rate standpoint, we just placed $100,000 at 2.90 for a year. Best in a long time. And it's really weird because it's 100 basis points higher than a month ago. So we're trying to keep the ladder intact, meaning that it'll come out here and we'll roll it out here because then we've got the other pieces coming due over the next however long. We're trying to stay very liquid because of the painting. We've got the $600 and some odd thousand that's come out of the reserve for the painting. So I can't lock it all up, right? But when I get the opportunity to roll it out and make a few bucks, again, think of it this way, $100,000 at 2.9, that's whatever, it's $2,900 a year. Best we've been in a long, long time. Understand rates are still going to go up. I don't know if you know anything about the economics of interest rates, and I will really bore you now. There's called the real rate and the interest rate. Feds move the Fed funds rate up to what, 3 or give or take, plus or minus, I forget, I lose track. But when inflation's at 6 and interest rates are at 3, you're still underwater. So until inflation comes down, interest rates will keep going up. As a fixed income investor association, that's good for us in the short term. 6% inflation is not good for us. Enough said. Sorry, wish I had more. I could think of something funny.
Okay.
Any questions?
No?
Good, cool, thank you.
Okay.
I have one question. Maybe this has happened before and I just didn't notice it. We always had landscaping and that included various things. And I noticed now we have what's called ground maintenance. And was things taken out of the landscape budget and put some other?
Well, ground
place?
maintenance is multiple accounts. If you're looking at strictly the summary, it says ground maintenance. But if you look at the detail, I don't know if maybe Andrea didn't put it in, but if you look at the detail P&L, ground maintenance includes about 10 different items.
That's all I'm asking, that it includes other
Other
things.
things.
Yes, yeah, it's not just one line item.
No.
I guess she didn't she didn't put it in.
Okay.
But I provided, and Andrea has it if you want it, I provided the detailed P&L. Underground maintenance, there's a dozen items. All kind, including burns and this and that and everything
I
else.
just think the landscape committee has to know when they're requesting something, whether something's budgeted or not, and when it's lumped together, they won't know. Okay.
Well, it's an important point though, because when we get to the point of doing the budget, which we're only about 2 months away from beginning the process for next year, we're gonna sit down, and we've said this before, we wanna sit down with each committee chairperson who has some kind of vested interest in some line item or whatever, and sit down and say, okay, what are your expectations for next year? If you think there's another 10,000 in berms, then we need to know that going in. We want to know that going in. We don't want to just say it was 20,000 this year, 6% inflation, it's going to be 22.5. No, if you've got something specific, we want to know about that and layer that into the budget as we get into the process. Yes, sir.
Don?
Hey, Don.
Yeah.
You indicated our budget process is gonna start in a couple of months.
Probably in August. I think it's usually, where's Lynn?
August.
It's usually August, yeah.
Where do we stand with our reserve analysis? Is that gonna be?
It will not be done
Why not?
because they haven't started.
Okay, when is it scheduled to start?
August.
Have we, maybe you can just update us on that.
They're scheduled to start in August. There's nothing else I can add to that. They're scheduled to start in August.
And there's various levels of a reserve analysis. Do you know what level we're gonna be at?
I'm not sure what you mean.
There's a basic reserve analysis, and then there's 2 other levels.
They're going to do a full bore, including a separate analysis of the painting reserve. Okay? It's very important to know because it was something that Mike Ross brought up at some point. We're going to redo the analysis here with an assumption that major items out in the future will have an assessment attached to them. So for example, we're not going to reserve for $2 million for clubhouse replacement, clubhouse renovations 10 years from now. We're going to assume that 10 years from now we will assess half of that. So in that sense, our reserves are in better shape than I would have thought.
Has that historically been our philosophy?
Yes.
Yes, Mike? Yes.
Historically,
And that's where
most communities, not just ours, most communities, there are very few exceptions, and I know of 2,
We're-
that had enough money in their reserve.
Yeah, we're not going to reserve today for $2 million in 10 years. So we're probably in better shape than I thought when you make that assumption, right? But they're going to do a full detailed analysis. I am certainly concerned about the inflation assumptions, et cetera. I don't think it's going to be pretty. We really do need to look long and hard at all of their assumptions when they come through. But right now, quite candidly, we got to let the game play out.
The company doing the reserve analysis, have they done it before?
Yes, they were the same ones as in 19.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it? Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Steve.
On bad debts, how are we standing on that with people in arrears?
I don't have it in front of me. If you look at the financials that are distributed to you, the bad debt numbers are in there. There is one lot that is a major issue.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a small mouse.
The 13,425 is that main one lot?
Yep.
What lot number is that?
No, the bad debt allowance is basically what we've reserved against everything. Okay, so we're building that bad debt allowance. What you need to do is, and again, we don't distribute this to everyone, go look at the financials that Victory sends out, and at the back of the financials, there is an aging of who hasn't paid. We have the one major lot that is under legal issues with
Right.
foreclosure.
It's been
3
detained
years?
for the last 5 years
5
by
years.
legal processes.
Ah.
The current date is August to go before the bank wants to repossess. I'm sure that'll be delayed again.
And I will quote Joe on this one. If the bank wins in foreclosure, the most we can collect is 1 year of HOA.
That's correct.
Or 1% of the original mortgage.
That's where our risk lies. If we defeat the foreclosure, we're golden. We do a short sale, we do whatever, we're golden on that. There was one other lot that was going 2 months behind, but, and I'm not gonna name, no names, okay? But, you know, it kind of is what it is right now. All we know is we're building it monthly based on the budget. We have enough that if worse got to worse on the one lot, we at least have enough to cover it right now. Yes, no?
Okay, any other questions, Keith?
The other question I have is, this report is for the end of May 31st, and the deficit that we have in the ground maintenance, the show expense, sports complex, we're in arrears, administration company, they do balance out as we go forward in regard to more income, and in these areas are going to stay as they are now, or they're going to reduce that?
Well, let's take it one at a time. Show income, show expense.
Right.
The year's done.
I understand that, okay.
So all that's happening, whatever is showing up right now needs to catch up by the end of the year. So for example,
I'm not concerned about the shop, I'm more concerned about the ground maintenance for the 35,000
we were talking about that earlier.
Okay.
Are we going to do any more berms? Are there any more?
Okay.
Are there any more tree poles outside of the project? Our budget, the way Victory does things, is straight lined. You put 24,000 in for the year, it's 2,000 a month. If we spend 20,000 one month, it's going to look funky.
Yes.
So you just have to stay on top of that.
Okay.
So I mean, we've had a couple of major hits because of the berms and tree replacements outside of the project that hit this month. Be careful looking at any single month is all I'm going to caution.
Balances out.
So, I'm sorry, Sid?
I said it'll balance out.
It'll balance out. You gotta watch
That's what I'm
it.
saying, it will balance out, but you have a monthly statement here showing on certain areas, and you have the year income. I understand that. Okay.
Right, but just understand, it's largely, when you're looking at a variance to budget, it's largely because of the way the budget process is done. They do not allow us to budget that we're gonna spend 15,000 on berm replacement in May. They take whatever we put in there for berm replacement and they spread it by 12. So we spend it all up front and it's gonna look goofy for a while. Okay? Make sense?
Joe, you had a question?
Yeah, Doug, I understand that in regards to the paint project, a lot of the houses are starting to take a second coat. We were budgeted for one coat,
Yeah.
and more houses are starting to take a second coat. Where's that money coming from?
We budgeted originally for, if I remember, I'm gonna give you the picture.
I'm
The
sorry,
number's
Doug,
gonna
I
be-
can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, should be on, so.
I'm gonna give you the pictures, they're gonna be off by the numbers a little bit, okay? We originally assigned a budgeted to paint the houses for, I believe the project was $600,000 of what the board passed. The original contract was for about $561,000, if I remember right, which we allowed for about $40,000 for second coat. What happened was when they did the first 15 homes, 15, I think it was 25 homes.
Yeah.
We were running over 50% requiring second coat. We told RCI not to proceed because we don't have the money for the extra $140,000 it would have been. RCI went around to the homes, all 365 homes, with the colors that they chose, which they now knew, but they didn't know that before. And they gave us a not to exceed contract, which is what you hear tonight, I think we're signing it tonight, for $639,000,
Yep.
which includes about 180 homes that are getting a second coat. That if 183 homes require a second coat, no additional charge to us. If only 175 homes require a second coat, we get back a refund or no charge for those homes. So we now have a not to exceed or a fixed contract not to exceed for 365 homes because they know their colors. So that's a fixed contract now.
Everybody's going gray anyway, so the entire community's gonna be gray.
So that's how we arrived at what I believe the motion is here tonight.
Yeah, it is, we're
What number?
ratifying a motion that we had signed.
We have the money.
and did
Whatever
contract.
Motion
works.
number C.
The reserve, the
Number
money,
C
the
is a
monies,
fixed
the
contract.
monies are in the reserve, we're fine.
The number C is now a fixed contract.
Yeah.
including all the homes that require a second coat.
And we have the funds. There's no additional look for the funds.
Mike?
You say you have the funds, 600,000 is appropriated into the reserves, and it's going to cost you $639,000, whatever that number. Where's the 39,000 coming?
It's there. That's what the number will be by the end of the year.
I'm sorry?
Mike, what happened was, to be by the end of 2020, we will have, when the bills come in, we will have enough money in because we're collecting throughout the 2022.
We're funding it every month. By the end of the year, there will be 639,000 less obviously what we have to pay out. So the monies, our reserves on the painting are just fine.
We're depositing into reserve account $9,079.79, $9,100 a month. And we have, as you know, another, this is as of May, we have another 7 months to go.
However, the one thing that also has to be accounted for in that is 2 years from now, you have to do a cleaning of the roofs. And we're collecting, part of the money that's in there is for that clean of the roofs.
But also,
So are you, let me finish, please.
sorry.
Are you borrowing against that to pay this? That's my answer.
No.
That's my question.
That's your procedure.
No.
And it would not, but however, if we go to a 7-8 year program for painting, or a 9-year program for painting, or a 10-year program for painting, we're way ahead of the game. The paints have improved so well that the manufacturer is the fabricator of the paint is guaranteeing the paint and writing materials and labor for 10 years. The contractor that's installing it is guaranteeing it for 8 years, material and labor. So we've been doing it on a 7-year program, which you're used to, Mike. It's not going to change because the roofs are not going to have to be done every 30 months, not every 3.5 years, and it's a whole different cycle than what we did before because of the way they're changing systems. Or the chemicals
If you look at the financials as of today, we've got 574,000 in the painting reserve. Add 9,000 a month for the rest of the year, gets us to the 639.
Now, except you're missing one point. In that money that's going in for this year is 1/3 of a roof cleaning is involved in that. Absolutely.
It's
Because
not
the
in the
roof
painting.
cleaning was done last year on a 3-year basis. So this year is the first year, for 2 years from now, when we have to do the roof cleaning.
And again, I just mentioned to you, what if it would be 36 months, it'll be 30. The chemicals that they're no longer going on the roof, they're using what they call rooficide.
Joe, I understand that.
You're
Now,
right,
what
Mike,
you're doing-
but it'll be ready.
Joe, what you're doing is, if you're telling me it's 30 months instead of 36 months, it's even worse than you think it is.
I mean, I'll plead ignorance here. Is the roof?
I don't recall what the
But however,
hang on,
we're going on a longer period in the next cycle, so it catches up, Mike. You're right. If we were on a 7-year cycle, I would
in
agree
other
with you.
words, you're borrowing from the next cycle to pay this cycle.
If
No,
we
we're
were
not.
on a 7-year cycle.
No, we're
present
not.
time. But
No,
yes.
we're not. Question, is the roof in the painting number?
Yes.
Okay. We have enough today to pay the
But
639,000.
if you will not have enough to pay for the roof cleaning 2 years from now.
We will
out of
start,
current monies.
we will start with the new study and or whatever, come January 1, we will start adding to the reserve again.
You gentlemen aren't understanding what's going on. What you're doing is borrowing from that to pay this, and that's what you decide to do, that's fine, but let's put it out there as to what it is.
Mike, what you said is what you're saying, and the summation is, as of January 1st of 2022, we should have had all the money for the painting of this program. Starting January 1st, we're starting to ready collect for the next.
The end of 2022, you should have enough in there to have 1/3 of the roof cleaning of 2 years from now. You're not gonna have it, you're gonna be short 39,000. Simple.
But you'll be surplus on how much you're doing for, because if you go out to 8 years, you're gonna have a surplus of the same number.
That's the next paint job, Joe, that's not this paint
Okay,
job.
okay.
That's why we're having a reserve study. Again,
Nothing to do with the reserve study, because it's a fixed item. It's a contract. The reserve study just takes it, spreads it out.
if at the end of the year, we believe that we have an item that needs to be dispersed in 2 years, we will factor that into the reserve calculation. That's not the calculation we're talking about today. Today we're talking about, can we pay the $639,000 for this painting
Yes,
project?
you
The
can
answer is
pay.
yes.
I agree with you, you can pay, but you're paying it out, part of it out of the next cycle.
Yes, yes, Mike,
So, that's
yes,
what I'm saying.
but it'll catch up in itself.
Excuse me, it'll catch up, because what'll happen is when you go to do your budget, you set your reserve, or your paint reserves, you're gonna need to get a higher contribution in order to cover the 2-year, pressure cleaning.
If you're going on a 7-year program, I agree with you. If you're going on an 8-year program, therefore the money that you're collecting the first 24 months will be enough to take care of your roofer side. Why don't we let this study go on when we do the reserve study and we come up with the assessment for the next year?
We're on different pages.
Say again, Jerry?
We're on different pages, because all I'm saying is, at the end of this year, and unless you're telling me, Joe, you're gonna move out the roof cleaning for 3 or 4 years, that's a different issue, because then you'll have time to collect the money.
I'm saying you're gonna move out the painting, the major project, for another, you do the math, another 1 year at a 7 year, so we're going, what, 14% further out. So therefore, more of the money that were collected at the beginning, which we would have collected over 7 years, we collected over 8 years, we can allocate that part, but we will still have an 8-year program.
When is the next time they're gonna pressure clean the roofs?
Approximately 30 months from the last time we did it, so approximately 30 months from January 1st.
So we did it, what, a year ago?
18 months.
In a year and a half.
Year and a half.
A year and a half from the next time you start the next budget.
And that's what we're gonna do when we go through the reserve study. I didn't see anything in our current reserves that basically said, again, making up numbers, $639,000 for painting, and oh, by the way, of that, $100,000 is for roof cleaning that we're gonna do in 2 years.
Yeah,
There's
Don, it's in there.
When we did the budget, and we have 2 reserves, we have replacement and paint. And in the paint, we have pressure cleaning of the roofs. That's part of the paint reserve. Now, when we calculated the contribution and the allocation, the pressure cleaning of the roofs was part of that calculation.
That's part of the 639.
Including, no, it's not part of it.
Well,
It's not part of it.
Not part.
It's not part of
Including,
639.
Jerry, you're right, including the remedial cleaning at the end of 3.5 years on the outside, the pressure washing of the walls. The whole project of which is the roofs, the walls, which is called remedial cleaning, and the painting, you'll project that all out over the next, hopefully, if the board approves it, rather than 84 months, over 96 months they're gonna take. Of course, in addition to the other factor is the painting project at 639 this year is gonna be God knows what, I can't even estimate it, somebody else got 8 years from today. I'm scared to think of what that number might be. But it'll be amortized over an 8-year project with at least 3 roof cleanings rather than 2, at least 3 wall cleanings rather than 2, plus they're all out of cycle now.
Let the process play itself out.
But you're right, but we're gonna project it over 96 months, not 84. That's all.
We're working strictly with the numbers we have to deal with today. Let the process play itself out, which will be the new reserve study. This will come into play and this will be part of the discussion. I literally have nothing else to say at this point.
But Debbie, what?
Yes, sir.
Wait,
I'm sorry, Debbie?
Debbie, what?
Joe, now that you pushed it out to 8 years,
I didn't push it out yet.
okay, all right, why should you push it out to 8 years?
Thank you.
Don't you think the houses are getting 2 coats, while most will be held up better than the ones only getting 1 coat?
Again, my answer to that would be that the paint manufacturer and the person that's applying, the painter, both are guaranteed for that period of time because the paint is improved that much. Yes, when I used to paint 20, 30 years ago, I had to put 2, 3 coats on. When I painted the last 5 years, 1 coat covered any which color I did inside my house. It's because the paint qualities have changed. So the only reason we're considering going out to a longer period is because the paint fabricators are telling you it's better. When my father bought a car in the 1950s, you were lucky to it lasted 30,000 miles and it rusted out.
And you still have it.
But we're also talking about the fact that the next.
Can we
paint-
just wait until the reserve study comes up?
Seriously, let it play out.
Also, the
Please.
next paint job that we do will probably in similar colors to what we've done now. Part of our issue was the change in colors. So that caused some of the homes, depending on their color and their selection, to need a second coat. Which if we're keeping similar paint colors 8 years from now, I don't think is going to be the issue.
It's going to be all gray. Everybody's going to be gray. But hang on, in order, sir.
Yeah, I got a question on that. We're paying them now an extra $60,000.
I can't hear.
Stand up, please.
I can't hear.
She can't hear you.
I said, right now, we're paying them about an extra $64,000 to do the additional homes, right? With the second coat.
The total
That was
is
figured in.
$639. I can't say anything about that, but Joe can.
No, I have to do the numbers in my head, 670.
The number's $639. I don't know where it started, but right now the number is $639, and we have it in the reserves to pay the $639.
Okay, but why are we not sticking to the original contract?
It's the second coat.
Why are we not sticking?
Because of the change of colors, and the original contract was, and when they went ahead and did the first 15 to 20 homes, when they signed the original contract, they had no idea what colors the people were choosing. So you can't tell that this house, which was gray before, is going to white, or this house that was gray before is going to a dark gray. So they didn't know at that time.
These guys are in business.
So now we choose
They're in
to,
business 50 years, the other guy's in business 34 years, and what you're saying is, now after the fact, that they're asking for more money.
I'm saying now after the fact, after we chose different colors,
But
they're
we
asking for
chose
more.
a different company
We chose a
also.
different company.
Don't forget, we had a contract with somebody and they.
Didn't they paint the walls outside?
We
Didn't they
originally,
paint the walls outside?
well, not yet, they will be. The whole community
You
gets
know what I'm saying?
painted.
They painted the walls outside, so everybody can look at them, right? Now they're saying that they need another 15,000, whatever it is, because the clubhouse is gonna be 2 coats of paint.
We don't know that yet. It
Yes, but that's a
depends.
But
possibility,
that's what
so.
they're saying.
It depends if
Depends on what color you
colors we
choose.
choose.
Clubhouse, they're saying the chosen color is another $14,000.
We haven't finalized the color on the clubhouse, buildings, or the walls yet. They have not been finalized, okay? That's something that we're going to be discussing hopefully at the next board meeting, because we have time on that. And depending on the colors we pick, we may not need 2 coats of paint, and we therefore might not need to spend that. That has not been finalized yet.
But then why are you paying them that extra money up?
We're not paying it up front. We pay as they do the work.
It's a contract.
In other words, after so many houses have been done, it's been looked at, and the painting has been approved, they get paid. They do not get paid $639,000. They get paid after each certain number of homes. And it gets guaranteed and inspected, and then they do some more homes, and they get paid. So they're not gonna be paid until the job has been completely finished and completely approved. So there's no final payments being
So the
made.
original contract really was not a contract.
Well, there was a contract. The original contract we had, they backed out of. The original company we had signed a contract with to repaint our community backed out. All right, they basically wanted not to do the job, or wanted another 200 outrageous amounts of money to do it, and didn't want to guarantee to do half the stuff that they had promised they would do. Okay, and based on that, we started to look at other contractors. We presented 4 contract assessments to the board for review, and it was decided then to go back to RCI. Am I correct on that, Joe? Thank
We
you.
had a contract with RCI to do the homes. They started, as I said before, they started the group of the homes, the first 15 homes, and then they did 10 more. In the evaluation of doing those homes, they said that they could not perform under those terms of that contract because of the color changes. I can't say that. So therefore, we said, well, we can't go into this, the rest of the contract with an unknown, would have possibly costing the community $140,000 more. at the approximately $385 for a home that took a second contract. They went ahead and added an addendum to give us a not-to-exceed contract, which is what's item number C on tonight's job, that independent of how many homes require a second coat, that is the maximum they do. They anticipate about 180 homes will require a second coat. That's all I can tell you. So the first contract we had, you're 100% right, the vendor agreed and said he cannot perform to that contract with these colors.
So,
If you want to maintain the colors that were there before, he can't perform.
so they backed out of the original contract, that's
He
correct.
basically back, if that's the number you want to use, RCI said he can't perform to the colors we picked for that contract. When he presented that contract, we did not have the colors picked. I can't make it any clearer than that.
No,
So,
I'm not saying that, I understand all that. What I'm not understanding is why, after the fact, with all this experience, that now they need another.
again, with all his experience, you keep saying that, he doesn't have, at that time, he didn't have the experience of what color each lot chose. So therefore, with all his experience, once he knew what each color lot was choosing, he then knew how many of those houses would require a second coat and how many would be able to get with one coat. That's it. Didn't have that information at the beginning.
At some point, they said, hey, we need so many houses that need a second coat, and it then affected the contract. Am I correct, Joe?
Well, we allowed for, as I said, $40,000 worth of second coats in the original proposal.
So if there's more homes, they're not gonna charge any more money.
If there's more than what it requires now, it's a fixed price contract not to exceed. Correct.
Go ahead,
The
Mike.
other thing is the roof. Is $73,000.
Mike, I want Mike, excuse me, Mike wanted to say something.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Thereabouts, yes.
Shut.
Hang on,
All right.
hang on.
Excuse me. Mike Ross, please.
Some histories. Go back 7 years, or 6 years ago, when the last time we painted. Last time we painted, the outer walls of this community were a light color. For the sum of $40,000 additional, they agreed to paint them the colors they are. Okay? What we did then is we basically borrowed from the following year to pay it out of the next group of money. We added that to the purchase price to come into what has to be collected over 6 years. Then we had another painting company that we inquired about, that several other communities were using and were very happy with. They were $210,000 cheaper than what RCI wanted. RCI wanted somewhere $700 some odd thousand. Of course, we went with the
Cheaper one.
cheaper one.
Right.
RCI came to us, well, why don't you give us a chance to match the price? Playing at those games. We did, we signed this contract. That company was owned by two brothers, or brother and brother-in-law, who had a falling out. As a result, they decided they didn't want to do HOA property. They wanted to do high-rise, easy. And they said, we're not going to perform. So what happened is, they went to them, and they said, sue us.
Yep.
Basically, sue us. So basically, the only one that's really around is RCI. So he came down and he met their price for the paint job. When he looked at it, it was based upon the colors that were there.
Yep.
So the additional money for colors is understandable. It's a change. It's what's called a change order. Very common in contracts involving construction. It's called a change order. And we're stuck with it. Do we like it? No. But as they say, over the next 7 or 8 years, it will be taken care of.
Yep.
and the place will look beautiful. So that's the history behind it.
Okay, all right. I
Thank
think
you.
that's enough. Anybody else? One more, Lois, that's it. I think we've killed this topic.
Okay, well, you had said that we get a 10-year guarantee from the paint company
These
UCI.
guys, Steve?
Steve, you want to?
Is that correct?
Yes,
A 10-year
Joe?
guarantee?
yes.
I think it's 8 years on stucco, full 10 years?
10 years from the paint manufacturer.
Yeah, but I understand that they're not guaranteeing 10 years on a dark color on your garage door. Is that correct?
Garage door is not stucco.
It's
So
metal.
they're not guaranteeing, as I reported every time, the guarantee is only on stucco surfaces.
A lot of people.
Well, people have been told
Turn it
that.
on.
We've been telling
We have-
that people all the way along.
We've told people all along.
Stucco surfaces only is
Yes.
the guarantee.
So how many years are they guaranteeing on the?
1,
1 year on the garage doors?
yes.
Should have gone light.
Okay. All
Who
right.
said that?
That's it, okay? I think we've discussed the painting enough for now. I'm sorry, this has been going on now for about 40 minutes, so I think we've
Feels like
touched
40
that
years.
topic, okay? Karen is not here today, so I'm going to read her report, okay? This is the Community Director's Report to the Board for Thursday, June 23rd, 2022. Total number of work orders for May was 78. Clean and Green had 53, excuse me, the breakdown was irrigation 35, landscaping issue 17, weed and ants 1. Open, paver repairs and trees and sidewalks, house painting, an addendum was signed by Avalon Estates on June 10th, 2022, covering a second coat of paint to 130 homes. RCI signature response was received on June 21st, 2022. The crew is now on Landrum Way. Creative contracting, 125 trees have now been removed to date. There are 10 trees to Oak Vista which were not previously marked with an X, requiring Clean and Green owner to identify so that the project can be completed. Note 7822 Reinhardt, 1 tree removed, should have been 2. The crew is going to return today to remove the trees. There are several other trees that are also going to be taken down. Creative is on schedule. After the completion of the trees, they will continue the balance of the stump grinding, clean the streets, pressure wash the guest parking lot. Concrete work will commence, date to be determined, covering sidewalks, valley gutters, removals and replacements, and paver repairs. ACC. The committee met this week and 18 applications were discussed. 7711 New Holland withdrew their paperwork. 7942 Reinhardt, tree removal on hold. 7848 New Holland Way, painting accordion shutters on hold. Franklin Hamilton Insurance, our new company, check covering the year of June 20th, 2022 to June 20th, 2023 was being mailed on June 24th. Thank you for your timely 2022 assessment payments. Those homeowners who have second and third payments will be reminded in advance of payment dates. Our electrician, Alpha Tech Electric, was on site. New LED lights were installed specifically for the flag flying at the guardhouse. Joe Canaveri and Gary Thompson were strong advocates making this happen. We also had problems with the Whitworth Way gate. That's continuing. All circuits were traced. It was determined that the circuit breaker that controls the gate is faulty. Replaced all 3 circuit breakers with which supply power to the gates. Community lighting and other devices such as cameras tested okay on June 15th. 2022. AA Advanced Air was on site to repair the AC units, which cools the poker room, north hallway men's and ladies' bathrooms. Excuse me. We are in receipt of our operating permits from the state of Florida, Department of Health, the swimming pool and spa. Hurricane preparedness. Our admin, Andrea Behrens, was on site Saturday and Sunday to go through our hurricane supplies. Those expired items have been discarded and new is in the process of being purchased. Synthes Corporation was on site to inspect all medicine cabinets. Those expired items were removed and replaced. The carpets in the grand living room have been shampooed. Glazer and Sachs, our legal counsel, have been selected to also do collection on our behalf. They have been given lot 327. Further, lot 327 has been advised via email that the fob and transponder have been disabled until full payment is made. Martin and Martin Esquire have been associated with lot 256 and they will continue until settlement is made. Thank you, Karen Bruno. Okay.
Well done, Karen.
anytime. Happy to give her the night off, she needed it. Director's comments, I'll start down. Myrna, do you have any comments?
No.
Okay, Joe?
No.
Don?
No.
I have none. Lynn?
Just a question. Now that the houses are gonna be painted, the mailboxes are starting to show their age. Are anything in the works to repaint those again?
I think we'd have to ask Karen in the office
Okay.
on that, because when did Felix did and
In
what?
that reference, when anyone's putting a work order in for it, has been being painted by Felix. So if you do need it done, put a work order and it'll be on the list.
I don't think they should be done haphazardly. It should be done uniformly.
Since it's something, that's something we can address and ask the office about.
Okay.
Because we did it, what, 2 years ago, I think?
Probably 2.5 or 3 years ago.
Okay. All righty. Howard, anything?
Yes. Joe answered one of the problems I had with people violating the stop signs and speeding through our community. The camera thing, things like that are very good. There's also a problem with our groups, our association groups have set up rules and regulations, and a lot of people don't follow them. And the only way we can correct them is if a neighbor reports what another neighbor is doing. I don't think that's proper. I think we need somebody to monitor what's going on and get things corrected properly.
Can I answer that a little bit?
Sure.
Go ahead, Steve.
Howard, you can't, the purpose of having a CD in the office is someone goes in there and mentions something, it's all confidential. Okay, she should respond to the resident to correct the violation. Okay? We can't have someone monitoring, going around driving. If you see something, say something to the CD, and she will take care of it as best she can. Okay? That's the rules.
Okay, well, we really, I guess the biggest issue is you need things put into writing. Some of the issues we've had through the years is that people don't put anything in writing. So sometimes that can be a problem. Okay, so we need a system that works, but I think the truth is you gotta say something. You see it, you say something, and you've really gotta put something in writing.
We have a system that works.
Yeah, that's the system, right, Joe?
The complaint form has the first 2 lines is what's the violation, and later it says anonymously.
Right.
If it can be verified by the community director, then they go over there, such as a statue, a religious statue out in front of somebody's house. It was submitted anonymously. Karen verified it. Karen spoke to the homeowner. It was removed.
Yep.
So the form allows for anonymous complaints.
So it's neighbor.
But you can only do so much if somebody's speeding down the road. I'm walking to the clubhouse the other day. Somebody comes flying down. I said, you know, they looked at me and laughed. Now, am I going to chase after them and take a picture of their license plate?
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm too old to chase after anybody.
On foot.
You've got your phone. Just take it out, snap
Yeah,
it.
but-
I can't take it out if they've already.
It's left, it's just you're not thinking about it.
Have a holster.
It's, okay.
One other subject,
Go ahead.
parking on the street. We have parking on one side, right? There are certain people that are parking and blocking roads, and we're a senior community, and sometimes you need some emergency vehicles they can't make it. I think we should monitor that. And we have people riding around checking the community in sheriff's hats.
We're
They
not
should say
allowed to
something.
do that. We go through this every time we drive. Joe will confirm it. We are not
See,
allowed.
the PBS, Palm County Sheriff's Office, cannot be here to enforce HOA rules.
We can't. I wish we
Period.
could. We can't.
Can they call
No.
someone
Cannot
that
be
else?
involved to enforce HOA rules. Garbage left out 3 days later, parked on the wrong side of the street, parked facing the wrong way.
Speeding is.
What else can I tell you?
But a traffic violation, they can.
No, they
No,
can't.
they cannot.
They can't do anything. So we're kind of on our own.
They're here to deter thieves from coming into the community by the presence of the white and green car. It is a decoy, and that's all they are. They're a moving decoy. As I tell everybody, we're old farts standing behind the steering wheel. We will not get out. We will not break up 11-year-old kids fighting. We will not do any of that. The PBSO is just there to see Something, say something. That's it.
Okay. Anything else, Steve? Anything else? No. Okay. Social committee?
Okay.
Linda, do you want to, I mean, we have what,
You have-
4 motions.
You
so-
have 4 motions. They're going to be difficult for you to follow the way they were written because marriage
So,
is only.
well, why don't we wait till then we get to each motion and then you can give us the details on each motion?
Details. So when do you want to do that?
When we get to the
Yeah,
motions,
Tuesday.
we'll be doing it, okay?
Okay,
So we'll
so
wait till
we'll
then and then you can give more detail on each one, okay? Sue, anything on our fountains?
On the fountains. I spoke to one man, but he wants particulars of the pumps, how much we, how many pumps we use. I asked Howard about the electrical, and he only found electrical. He didn't find
have
anything
nothing on
about the
pumps.
pumps. But Karen was so busy this week.
No, I know, this
She's the
is-
one that I
Okay.
really have to get to, so.
Okay, I'd say give it another week and painting things are starting to calm
Yeah,
down
I
a
know,
little
so
bit.
I just, that's
Perfect,
where
I appreciate that. Anybody here from the entertainment committee that has anything further to say? Stu, go ahead.
Okay, so we are now ready to sell tickets again. We suspended tickets because one of our shows was canceled. The replacement show, the Linda Ronstadt Experience contract has been signed. We're going to start probably next week with an extensive advertising program, email blast with links to look at clips of each show that we have. We have, I'm going to put on the table in the clubhouse brochures, in case you lost your brochure, and with order forms. Anybody who wants to buy tickets can just either put it in the box in front of the clubhouse with the check, or you can call me or Jackie at our home and we will get you the tickets.
Okay, Stu, is there anything that you can send me that's like a scan thing that I can send off to a couple of communities where I know the presidents? Because several people said they might be interested in seeing our shows.
I'll get you a brochure that has all the shows in it, and you can send it over.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Okay, thank
We're ready to
you.
go.
All righty. Oh,
Can I just ask an accounting question on this? Are we going to be able to identify the checks by show?
Stuart?
Stuart?
Stu,
Are we going to be able to identify the people that are buying individual shows by show?
Yes.
The problem we've had with the accounting in the past year was not being able to identify who did what. I want to make sure. So far, we've collected about 19,000 for series. As we go into individual shows, I need to be able to know that there was 3,000 for Linda Ronstadt, 5,000 for the temp, or whomever. We
have
need
that.
to be able, we
always
need.
had those figures, how the accounting firm did, but we always gave those figures into the office. So individual shows, you know exactly.
We'll know exactly who it was, and it will tie out to the amount that was deposited. That's critical.
It'll be done. We have,
Okay.
we have all those
Okay.
figures.
All righty. Yes?
Bobby Collins got canceled, and I never got my money back for that show.
I can't hear him.
What?
Bobby Collins got canceled and he never got his money back.
You gotta go to the office, that's not a word.
That's just something you can go to the office for to
Go see Karen.
verify. Because that'll be taken care of.
I've waited how many times since April.
I have no idea. Okay. All righty. Joe, old
I
business.
couldn't get to it this month, I'll make it stronger. The box is on my office, but I just, too many
Okay.
other things. I gotta spend hours here to do that.
Okay, so we're talking about the cameras in the clubhouse and in the gym? Okay. All righty. New business, moving right along here.
This is as far as we've gotten.
Yes. Okay. A lot of this is gonna move quickly, I'm very positive. All right, we'd like to ratify approval for the social committee to purchase the FAU tickets for Brighton Beach Memoirs on June 19th and the big band hits on July 10th. By the way, if you didn't go, the Brighton Beach Memoirs was a great show. Really had a good time and a good turnout. All right, I'd like to vote on ratifying what had been previously approved by the board. All those in favor? 7-0, thank you. Okay, next, I would like to ratify approval to hire Glazer and Sachs to handle all new collection issues. This had previously been pulled and approved by the board, we're just ratifying it. Any questions? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Okay. Third issue. Ratifying approval to sign the amended contract with RCI not to exceed $639,370. This had previously been pulled and all members of the board had approved it. Any questions? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. I see 7-0. Thank you. Next, I'd like to ratify approval to accept the insurance proposal from Franklin Hamilton Insurance in the amount of $82,387.43 and utilizing them as our exclusive insurance broker. This proposal is $10,000 less than the proposal from our current insurance broker and $7,612.67 under what we had budgeted to spend for insurance in 2022. Thank you again, Mike Ross. All right, all those in favor, please raise your right hand.
I want to speak on that.
I'm
Like
sorry.
reduction in premium, is the coverage the same?
Oh, yes.
I want to speak on that.
Go ahead, Joe. Here, here's the mic.
To 2 points I want to point out. We did a study also recently by a professional company for replacement value, and this insurance now is at the current replacement value that was done about, well, Karen isn't here, within the last 45 days. The second thing I want to point out is, again, to emphasize how much I appreciate, the community should appreciate, that Mike Ross stepped up and helped us there. If those of you who don't understand, Mike's son is an underwriter, so we can't deal with his son, but his son turned this on to somebody that specializes just in condos and HOA. That's the only insurance that person writes in Franklin. I'm not saying Franklin doesn't do other things. And the efforts that we went through with Brad Lubin, who then goes to his underwriter, which I think the last name of the underwriter guy is named Ross, but he goes to the underwriter. So Mike, thank you again for the efforts there, I appreciate it. However, let me also point out another thing. A loss run, I want you to know what's going on with our loss run. So we ran a loss run for the last 5 years, from 2017 to 2022. The loss run is what's required by the insurance companies when they write insurance. The loss run for those years right now, they've allocated $208,000 for payment, of which the two major items, I'm sorry, there's 3 major items in there, but 2 major items. One was the gates, which we had a hurricane strike in 2019, and the insurance company paid us about $29,000. The last thing, which is a big thing, the insurance company has allocated $174,000 for the one resident, and I don't mind mentioning the name, who in March of 2022, approximately a few days before they were moving out, put in a claim. They said they tripped in their driveway on the pavers. They said that the pavers were lifted due to the roots. However, all records indicate that they have no work orders, never reported it to the insurance company. I have been deposed of, I think at least twice, and Karen's up to about 4 times, and I have another deposition coming up in August. Unfortunately, we all, and I classify it as an ambulance chaser, that the person's trying to get a couple $100,000. I think they're suing for $700,000. But these numbers affect our insurance. Our premium would have been lower if we didn't have this potential claim against us. So even though everybody thinks we have insurance, we pay for it. It's a shame, even with the $208,000 that they allocated, we paid the insurance company over the same period of time $425,000. We also, no, I'm saying,
they're not going to get that kind of money.
I know they're not going to, but they call it a reserve and they put it aside. So as far as the insurance company is concerned, that's what we're being experienced, our experience factor is. So please understand that's an ex-resident that is killing us, basically.
But now maybe
Thank you again, Mike.
Okay, but maybe you understand too why it's so important for us to have taken out the trees that we've talked about and fixing the raised sidewalks and everything, because they were a hazard and an accident waiting to happen.
Well, on that same subject, excuse me.
many pavers on people's driveways are still in an elevated condition. And especially at my house, I had one of my neighbors trip. Luckily, he did not fall. Whose liability is it going to be if he took a flop and started to sink? Because these pavers are still raised up pretty high.
Is the tree project going to cover that or not?
Yes, the tree project goes
If it's
into
in the, I don't know, without being specifics, I don't know if that one's covered in the tree project or not. So you got to, without the address. What I wanted to point out was also what's going on in the recent years now. If the HOA is notified of a hazardous condition and a year later the hazardous condition continues to exist, insurance companies are taking the stance that they don't have to, are not liable for any payments due for the injury. Because the property owner, which is the HOA, did not take corrective action when they were notified. And I'm not saying all the time.
I'm going to disagree with you, Joseph.
I know that. It's not said all the time, but insurance companies are starting to take this approach.
I had put a work order in, Joe, and I was literally told, this is last year, literally told, yeah, they'll get to it. But you know something? If you really need to get it done, have somebody come up and fix it and pay for it. So that's exactly what I did. And I have pictures of it for this particular routes. That was one section that I took care of. It's Band-Aid. Now I have 3 or 4 that's raised up considerably. And I was told, well, my tree doesn't come down. Well, that's okay if that's how you feel. But I'll walk 60, 70 of those trees, and I guarantee you that my driveway and my roots are worse than those people that are getting theirs down. Makes no sense to me.
Okay, I'd appreciate if you speak to me after the meeting so I can get your address.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you, Joseph.
All right.
The law firm was
Not my
Dewey
responsibility.
Screw 'em and Howe, just for the record.
No. But people make claims all the time, but when that case does settle, it'll be well below a 6-figure settlement. Okay? All right. So again, let's just vote on that to ratify the approval to accept the insurance. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Okay. We have a motion to accept the updated SCC committee roster presented by Doug Haig. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Thank you. Okay. Motion F I'm going to put towards the end. We'll get back to that. All righty. I want to move forward with as a group of motions being presented by the social committee. The first motion is to accept the updated social committee roster. Does anybody have any questions on the roster? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Okay, now, Linda. Okay, the first motion presented to the board is to approve the social committee 3D event for August 6th from 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. at a cost of $20 per person. Lindy, would you like to come up and speak on that, please? Yeah, we gotta hear you, hon. She's gonna speak on 3 motions, and Myrna may want to have something to add to it. Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. All right, the 3D stands for DJ, dancing, and dessert. It makes it easy to remember because we'll use this format, again in the future. It's going to be Saturday, August the 6th from 7:30 to 10:30. The cost is projected at $20 per person. It will be a bring your own bottle. On the tables, it will be set up like a cabaret. On the tables will be a fruit platter on each table and so forth. They'll have music by the DJ, Vinny and his wife. They were the same people that were here this summer and they were very good. After the DJ performs around 9 o'clock, dessert platters will be brought to the table, and this will all be catered by Publix. Our costs will be $965, we estimate. Our break-even point is at 50 people, so we have to cut it off at 50 if we don't get 50, and we usually do much better than that, so we should be pretty much in the black.
Okay, does anybody on the board have any questions about this event? Okay. Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Thank you. That is passed. Okay, the next motion is to approve the social committee New Year's Day luncheon and entertainment for January 1st, 2023 for a cost of $35 per person.
That will be a lunch because we wanted to make it open to the whole community where it wasn't so, I don't know how to say this, but
Inclusive.
it was going to appeal to everybody. So we have from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock at $35 a person. This affair, which will be different than in the past, we will have a DJ. His name is Charlie D. He will do music through the decades, the 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. We will also have a video screen presentation and trivia. So it will all be music related and fun. The catering will be by Jack's. They're here on Woolbright. They will give you clear box sandwiches. There'll be many choices, and you will be able to select what you want ahead of time. The cost will be probably about $17 each for the food. That we're lucky because Jack's has promised to make it fresh that day. Don't forget it's New Year's Day. And he will come in earlier and make them up, and they will be delivered here. We'll have champagne brunch and fruit and so forth, probably in the back of the room or in the breezeway. Our break-even point is at 92 people. Our cost estimate is $3,230.
Okay, anybody on the board have any questions about this?
Mentioned $35 a head.
A person.
$35 a
It's
person.
including entertainment.
$70
$70 a couple.
Right.
Okay.
Bring your own bottle.
That's the same price as it was last year, by the way, although the format was different.
Right. And this is also including entertainment, which I believe you've never really done before for any of the brunches. Okay, anybody on the board have any questions? Anybody else? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Thank you. Okay. Next motion, okay, is to approve the social committee. We're going to do a black and red themed cabaret, dance, and dessert for January 28th at a cost of between $25 and $30 a person. The final price hasn't been set yet. A deposit of $200 is required for the entertainer. Okay, Linda?
Okay, that again is Saturday night, January 28th from 7:30 to 10:30. I really have it tagged in at $30 a person again because we won't break even until we'd have to get almost 100 people.
Okay, so-
guaranteed. Anyway, it's a black and red themed cabaret dance. The entertainers are Susie and Steve. They're a duo. They're an interactive duo. They're a little bit expensive, more than our usual DJs. Their contract is $800. It's a bring your own bottle. We'll have packaged snacks at the table and dessert platters once again. It sounds like we're having 2 dessert parties, but they're about 6 months apart, so it won't matter. I mean, it's not redundant. The cost estimate here is $22,375, and we can break even at 75 people.
Okay, anybody on the board have any questions? Steve?
The question is, on the deposit that we give to each of the vendors up front.
I think this is the only one requiring an upfront deposit.
No, not quite.
No, oh, okay, no, I'm sorry then, okay.
Okay, following up with the question, if we do not have the attendance that we need to cover our costs and we do cancel, we lose the deposits?
My guess is probably yes, because they have taken a Saturday night professionally and given it away. All right.
Okay, anybody else have any other questions? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0, thank you. And last but not least, go ahead.
And lastly, on February 25th, we would like to have one of our favorite entertainers. He was here about 8.5 years ago. His name is Ashley Cooper. Some of you may remember him. He's a song and dance performer. He's quite good. He comes into the area for a couple of months each year and in the winter. So we were lucky enough to be able to get him for Saturday, the February 25th. He's $1,500. He's a professional. So it is not, it is more like a show. We call it a nightclub night. We'll have packaged packaged snacks at the table. Again, a dessert buffet, but in the breezeway because of he's more expensive, and we want to keep this at $30 a person, and it will be cabaret style. And our break-even point at that point is 83 people.
What does he do?
What does he do? He sings, he dances, and he's just an all-around. He's an all-around real performer, like you would see in a real club.
If you go on, the internet, Google him. You can Google him.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go run out and do that, yeah.
You'll like him.
He's good. Your wife is Googling her right
She's
now.
good. Yeah, Miss Google's over there.
I'll take care of it.
Okay, questions, Joe?
I have a question on all three of them basically, but same thing.
Okay.
Who's signing the contracts for the entertainment?
We haven't signed anything yet.
Who's signing the contracts for the entertainment? Who's gonna read them to make sure that maybe we're liable for the whole $1,500, maybe on the other ones we're liable for the $800? I didn't get the answers here. That's all I'm saying is that.
Well, I would be reviewing them, then I'm gonna
Therefore,
just,
okay, so you're gonna review them to make sure that
and I'm gonna talk
our
to
maximum
Maris.
exposure is the
Right,
deposits.
and I'm gonna talk to Maris, our
Okay,
social
just fine. I just
director.
wanna make sure maximum
No,
exposure.
no problem at all.
Fair enough.
Totally.
No, I agree.
Exposure is a deposit.
Well, first of all, the contracts that have to be reviewed anyhow, and I would review
Yeah, I
them with
just wanna make sure
Maris.
that our maximum deposits.
Yep.
Exposure is the deposit.
Yes. Okay, any other questions?
Did you want to vote on that?
We're going to know. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Okay, thank you, Linda.
Thank you all.
Okay, all righty, so now, let's go back to the motion.
So was I.
Okay. I've two more motions left. I'm gonna go back to the motion at the very, that I'm adding. There's one I'm adding, I'd like to handle that, okay? We have a motion to approve an additional cost of $3,819.25 to complete the job of all the tree removals, as well as issues that we've had with the mailboxes. Now, I have a whole write-up that I'm going to read to you to explain this. I just have to find what I did. Okay?
Is that the remove and replace?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. God help me. Give me 1 second, guys. There's so many papers here tonight.
This is where they have to take the mailboxes out
Right, this is an
and
issue.
then put them back.
Back in, yes. Where
What
we
is it,
had.
$100 a mailbox?
Yes.
Because of the tree, you have to take
There
the
we go.
mailbox out and
All
put
right.
it back.
All right, I'm gonna
It's
read this.
Find it?
I found it, okay, so everybody's gonna understand this. Okay, the original quote that we had for the tree removals and stump grinding was $104,000 to remove 130 trees. The original owner took ill, and the business, he's not able to continue. We went to an alternative vendor who quoted, which was Creative Contracting. The bid was $99,300. Note, All Brothers Trees was on site for 1 day, and in the day they removed a total of 10 trees at $800 per tree for a total of $8,000. When the bid came from Creative Contracting, we knew that we would have to pay for the work already done from All Brothers, and advised Creative that he had to deduct $8,000 from his quote. To get his bid lower, he made each tree at a cost of $763.85, and our total cost for the project was now $91,661.50, keeping in mind that we were going to be billed for $8,000 from All Brothers, okay? Those two amounts added together came to $99,661.50. Now we have an unforeseen expense of the removal and reinstallation of mailboxes. These boxes were strategically placed to get destroyed upon tree removal. There was no option but to remove the boxes and reinstall upon the tree removal. There was a total of 45 boxes, $50 out, $50 in, for a total of $100 a box for $4,500. Adding that to the previous amount, I know, but you want to know numbers, $99,661.50, we came to $161.50. We were advised by Creative that there were 5 additional trees which we had overlooked which needed to be removed. This added on an additional cost of $3,819.25, bringing the total for this work to $107,980.75. We're requesting that the board approve the additional expense to complete the job in the amount of $3,819.25. It is my understanding that we have the money, that part of the assessment was a little, we built in a few extra dollars in case there were extra issues, so the money is there. So, but we do still have to finalize and approve this. Any questions? Okay, seeing none. Any questions on the board?
This has nothing to do with this specific item, but it was, the question was raised to me in terms of looking at the financials. We've taken a lot of trees out this year already.
Yes.
On a regular basis, we're taking trees out, and then over and above that, we've got this whole project. I'm not making a comment, I'm just merely, is that a correct statement?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Now I'm taking the board to vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0, thank you. Okay, now last but not least, to me, is a very important motion. I think we have an office staff who works quite hard. And I think we need more help because we don't have enough hours in the week. I do not like seeing Karen here on a weekend. One of the reasons I told her not to come in tonight is the woman is exhausted, and I said, you go home and stay, take care of yourself. I think I can read your report, okay? It's very important to me that we look to hire someone part-time. I want to do what I think had been done in the past before I got here. We used to have someone who used to sit in the front lobby when people came in, sort of like a greeter receptionist. And I think actually that's how Karen came to us, by being a night greeter, okay? So what my intent now is to request from this board the permission to hire part-time help for 25 hours a week, Monday to Friday, from an 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. to act as a receptionist in the lobby, okay? Salary would be between $15 and $18 per hour.
Covering the phones.
Covering phones, covering people as they come in, greeting people, taking their questions, figuring out what needs to be done, helping them, and making sure that Karen shuts her door and Andrea shuts the door at 2 o'clock in the afternoon so they can get work done without being disturbed by constant drop-ins. The point of this person being there, and Joe can even elaborate more, is to help handle some of that, to take some of that pressure off of them. And it's also a good way to think about training someone for the future. Karen will not be with us forever, okay? So we have to start thinking about what we would like to do down the road. And she said herself, she started this way, it might be a good way to find somebody and test somebody out. Joe, do you wish to speak further on this?
Well, just the pointed out here is Karen will be retiring in the next 2 years or something like that. What brought this all about was also the response that our homeowners are not getting. When they issue a work order, they put it in writing. My strong beliefs are they get an answer in writing and they're not getting it. I ran the runs for the number of active work orders as of today, and the printed out was 4 on a page, and I had 48 pages. Okay, some of them have been completed, some of them date back to September 2021. If it isn't completed by now, it never will be. But the point is, we have never documented. What happens is when you issue a work order by either a written work order by coming into the office or doing it on the internet, it has to be entered into a computed system, which is called the top system. And then we list it as active and assign it. And then when it's corrected, we write down what corrective action was taken and we close it. But we're supposed to send the resident a response that says your work order has been completed. We're not doing it, among many other things. Also, Maris, who's been a doll, is answering the phone a lot. Maris is here for 17 hours to work on the social director. But as people that know, if they've been here in their office, they see Maris picking up the phone almost hourly. So we just don't have enough response time. So it's time for us to understand that Karen works the equivalent of 2 people, and the next thing she'll have to be doing, so we're going to have to just take the load of whoever coming in next will not be working in the same way she has. So I basically mean we've got to be prepared. That was my...
Yes, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Steve, go ahead.
In the years past, during the working hours, we did not need a fob to get into the main building or even into the pool area. Since the pandemic, we have been using the fobs, and we discussed that with Karen, and she thought it was a safety issue. If we have a receptions, could we leave the building open, or
No.
we still get in that same
No,
situation?
absolutely not. I think with all the craziness that's gone on in our world, I think the fob is fine. You don't need, if we have signs right up in the front for people come in, if you have to come in and someone wasn't sitting there to call a number, I think the fobs are important to keep. I don't think it's any great, burden on anybody to keep the fob with them, to go to the pool or to come into the building. And most communities actually do have that. You can't get in without a fob. And it's also one way to control if we have a resident who's not the best or not the nicest or has issues, and at least we have some control about them coming into the building. Okay? Any other questions on this? Go
If you
ahead.
take the candy ball out of Karen's office and put it outside.
Yes, we will do that. That also, Sue, that will also be something. I'm sorry.
That's under lock and, that's under lock and key.
Okay.
Don't fill it up.
Okay, yes, Linda.
Will there be a phone?
Yes.
We've had session. The
Okay.
phone is what is so terribly intrusive.
Yes.
And I've been working with Maris almost every day.
Yeah.
And we can't get by without that phone ringing 5 and 10 times. So will she have a phone at the desk when she's
The
spending?
intentions
She has
are
to.
to not only have a phone, but to go back to
Computer.
the other system. We have an outlet there, to go back also to a computer system.
Yep.
If the person gets bedded, so they can go ahead and enter work orders, which is simple to enter. It's
Yep.
just a-
I mean, I'm over here often enough, even if it's just for like signing checks and stuff. I'll sit down with Karen for 10 minutes and the phone will just ring and nobody's picking it up.
Right, right.
Okay? I mean, that's kind of a pain in the,
Okay, yes.
Hi, just a question though, so I understand Karen, but I thought Andrea was supposed to take the workload off of her, doing the
Get
work
real.
orders, doing the ACC things, everything like that. What is she doing, to help Andrea?
we'd like to.
And also, just to get the point of it, the person who used to sit in the lobby and answer the phone also took our checks for social things, took everything, so they weren't doing this other stuff, they were doing something really, that, we haven't had it for several years now, where the social director takes the checks as opposed to, all these wonderful ladies who are working. So what does Andrea do that we need another person? Why do we need another person? I understand Karen, but why do we need,
Good
why do
question.
we need somebody to replace Andrea? What is she doing?
Andrea's kept busy with all the things that are going on in the office right now, such as the painting. Such as whatever house has to be, people call the question. Just spend 20 minutes here and you'll see what she's doing. She's constantly interrupted by the telephone. That's why we try to set up 10 to 2. We're not saying you can't come in after 2 o'clock, make an appointment. But we're not going to try to get away from the open door policy, which interrupts both of them, whatever they're doing. They're working, I mean, the book we're handing out to the new owners is so outdated, it's almost worthless to hand them out, but nobody has the time. So guess who's doing it now? And it's wrong. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be doing all this work.
Will this person be doing that?
Who? Andrea should be doing that. Yes, doesn't get the time to get to it.
So Andrea-
Take a look at the office in there, what
Just
Andrea's
stop
office
by
looks like.
one day and
Why don't you
stand,
look
hang
at
out
this in
for
the
an
office?
hour and see what goes on.
There's a volume of work issue. I mean, you want to just reduce it to something like that. It really is a volume of work. I can only speak to when I come over and I do see what goes on. And Karen's at the point where she has to keep her door locked. Okay, and I'm banging on, who's that? Me?
No, but seriously, between the painting, between the trees, between the pavers, between the people, the new residents, between the people who bought a new car and they have to get the new fob for the car so they can get into the community. It is constant, it is never ending. And I don't think people realize it unless they hang out for about an hour and just to stand by and watch what goes on.
The
We're not
orientation
looking-
for a new owner is somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 minutes.
Right.
Okay, just figure out how many hours we spend a year just to orientation.
We just had to spend $900 because of transponders because so many people are buying new cars. It's just constant, and it really is constant.
So the new person's gonna do those things?
Not
It's
those
a question
things.
of balancing the workload and who's going to do what.
It's going to balance out.
That has to be managed once it happens, but you're going to trying to balance the workload.
We're not looking.
Joe's the clubhouse guy.
We're not looking to spend money if we don't have to spend
And
money.
again, emphasizing, please, that doesn't mean the office is not acceptable for you to come in at 9 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. By appointment after 10 to 2. 10 to 2 is the open door policy. After that, make an appointment, and still can come in.
Mike, you had your hand up?
Yeah, there's two things. First of all, you're describing needing another office person, not a receptionist. So I think you thought about it the wrong way. We don't need a receptionist out here to say, hi, welcome into Avalon. That's what a receptionist does. We need somebody, you're correct, that's going to do office
Well,
work.
it's a matter of semantics. The point is the person's gonna sit out, no, the person's gonna sit in the lobby and do the work. Okay, fine. So I'm sorry I called it receptionist. It's an office assistant who's gonna sit outside. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I resent being interrupted by you personally.
I'm sorry you resented, but if I'm calling someone a receptionist, I'm looking at an office assistant. Go ahead.
Second of all, where's the money coming from? What you're talking about is $15,000 a year, closer to 20. Okay. Between now, is that what it is? Okay, 20,400. We can be complaining that we're losing money. I heard the treasurer say, boy, we've got a tough time. Now you're putting an addition onto it.
$1,800 a month.
So, where's it coming from?
We don't have a choice. We need to provide the service. I understand what you're saying about the budget. What I also will say is, as I said earlier, it's a little hard to make a determination on where we stand with the budget when we have lump sum items versus a straight line budget. Yes, we will look at it, okay? But quite candidly, we've got to, you literally have to get to the point that we need to do something over here. Karen can't handle it. She's coming in every Saturday, for God's sake, okay? I'll sit in her office and the phone doesn't get answered. That has to stop. We'll find the money somehow.
Can we look into volunteers?
Hiring an untrained office worker compared to a manager. There's a difference. And a manager, this untrained person isn't going to be able to help Karen out with what she has.
It's a workload thing. If it's a question of putting a transponder in the car, for example, just as an example, this person can do that, not Karen, not Andrea, not whatever. It's a workload balance thing. Look, I've already run into the issue where I was asking about show income and Andrea said, I can't give you that because it's not in my job description, okay? I mean...
Well, maybe you need to reappropriate what her duties are.
I don't manage
so
this.
that-
Don't look at me.
So that it's evenly distributed. The other thing is, if you're gonna put someone out in the hallway, we decorated that room. You can't just put an old desk or whatever there. You're gonna have to buy something that's gonna have to fit into the decorations. And that's gonna be costly. I don't approve of it.
I'm sorry, Nancy?
I agree that there's a lot of work and you need people and bodies to do it. But when Joan was here part-time, I rarely go in the office, but a few times I did, and Joan's sitting there reading a paperback book, Andrea's sitting at the desk. Something has to be done as to who assigns the work to this new person and who oversees that they're doing the job, and I don't think it's Andrea.
It's not Andrea.
It's not gonna be here.
Well, the other one was reading the paperback book.
That's why the other one
When
isn't
is
here
that
anymore.
Why she's not here any longer?
Yes.
That was obvious.
And the workload is.
Go ahead.
The office, and the way I see it, when I walk around, when I go in, first thing, that office has to be cleaned out. I don't know how, Andrea, I don't care how anyone can find anything.
Exactly.
I think you need to get that entire office, Andrea's office and the other, totally organized. And I think once you knew where everything is, where the work orders are, where you have, it has to be answered right away. You can get to it. I don't believe she could find anything, no one can.
Well, are you questioning her organization skills, or what are you questioning?
I'm questioning that, I'm saying, if you don't have organization skills, you can have 5 people in there.
Totally agree.
And it's not going to work.
Totally agree.
But, so, you have a disorganized office now. Before you hire someone else to make it more disorganized, organize what we have. Then if you need, then you'll know exactly what that new person needs, or what she can do, or what you need. But until there is some organization in there, it's a waste to put someone else to add to the disorganization.
Well, again, can we work on the assumption that this is someone that is going to be on a trial basis? It's nothing permanent, but I will always speak to when I've been in the office, it's got to get under control. I can't speak to Andrea's organization skills. I can speak to what I see Karen going through. I can speak to Karen here on every weekend or whatever. That's got to stop, okay? So even if it's down to answering phones, putting in transponders, or doing that kind of basic stuff, I agree, we don't need a freaking desk by the front door. You can go out, honey, you can go out there and sit there and smile.
Hey, I volunteered. I've been up here and answered the phone all day.
And what's it like?
It is nonstop, and I can tell you of the calls that I answered, there were plenty that could have been a work order in paper. And called, Clean and Green did a better job next door than they did for me. I mean, I didn't even know how to answer these calls. I'm like, thanks for the message. So maybe to your
That's a
point,
lot of
maybe
that.
there's volunteers.
That's a great point. That's a lot of it. A lot of these calls are quite candidly Mickey Mouse.
Right. But then there were people calling, how many houses do you have for sale in the community? I'm like, ma'am, talk to a real estate agent. I'm just saying, those calls, I get it.
All the time.
It's
Never ends.
Maybe there were 2 calls in the 15 I answered that I had to get her because it was something that Karen had to address. The rest of them, I was able to take a message.
She did it. She worked it.
So did I. So did I.
So is she right? Is she right or not?
She's right. And you know what I did? Everybody wanted to talk to Karen. Well, Karen can't talk to 10 people. I took the paper and I wrote a note, and at the end of the day, or whatever it was, I went into Karen. I said, here, some people, like you said, they want to know the time of the day.
But somehow, some way, today, at this point, which is why this has all come up, is that it's dysfunctional. It's become dysfunctional.
Right.
So, I'm sorry. I'm just saying that. Yes. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, no, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Debbie.
Debbie, you've had your hand up.
I totally agree with what Karen's going through, but unfortunately, we've taken on all this at one time, and having the painting and having the trees and everything else. What are you going to do with this person when things do calm down? We had
Get rid
suggested
of them?
that maybe a couple of homeowners would like to form a group and be like a project manager. Someone should have been a project manager with this painting. And there's many things, as you say, that Karen doesn't, and then report to her after a week and say this is what's happening, or it may have been better, because there's many things that she doesn't have to take all that on. If they need to go up and see something, or maybe someone could have asked Joe. But there's a lot that could have been relieved from her if we had a couple of residents as a project manager for the painting or for the trees that could have been relayed afterwards, not that she has to take every single call.
Understood.
Haven't we also had issues, I know that you and your husband had volunteered to help call people about certain painting things, and people were actually hostile to you, that you had the audacity to call because it wasn't the office calling, and it wasn't Karen calling. So that's also part of an issue we have. It's fine to say, oh no, but people were, you can ask them. People were like nasty to them, like, why are you calling me? Why isn't it the office calling to tell me this?
And
so
that was because I came on a Sunday and she was in.
Right.
And I said, why can't I just, and it was already started.
Right, and someone who wanted to volunteer and help. So we do have that issue. We also have
Then appoint a project man. We used to have project managers. I remember Harold Shannon for the parking lot. We used to have project managers do an email blast and notify the people that from now on, the project manager for this is such and this is who you would be talking.
Well, it's wonderful to say we can do that. And who is going to be these project managers and the volunteers? One of the biggest problems we have, okay, is getting new people involved. It's getting people to volunteer their time to give something to this community. And I've said it time and time again, and I will continue to say it. If we don't have people stepping up to the plate, then the community will be paying for these people, okay? And that's what we're at a situation right now. Because it's fine to say someone will come in and they'll answer the phone for a couple of hours. That's very different than taking on the responsibility of dealing with hostile people about the color of their paint, or the tree that's coming down, that they don't want to come down, or the tree that should come down, and how come their tree wasn't selected to come down?
And
Or how
ultimately-
come they haven't
I'm sorry.
come fast enough to fix my driveway? Or no one's responded, I put this email in 2 days ago and no one's responded yet. So that's a real big issue. And it's in not just this community, but it's in all communities. It's getting people to volunteer. So it's great to say we could have project managers. I think that's wonderful. You're gonna tell me who those project managers are going to be? Okay.
And there's ultimately a burden on, I've had a couple of people volunteer to help me with finance stuff. I've spent more time trying to get them up to speed. I could have just done it myself at that point.
Right. Listen, when I was here on the phones, a woman called from the other side, and she said to me, "Do I have a pineapple?" I said,
Not on the other side.
Go outside your house and turn around and look to see. I knew she didn't have a pineapple. She said, maybe I said, no, I don't think you do, but go outside and turn around and look. I mean, you know, phone calls like that, Karen doesn't need to have.
But that's
Even Andrea doesn't need to have.
But that's our problem. And again, it's great to say, I wish we did have people that wanted to be a project manager. But we can't get people to volunteer, new people to be on a committee. It's the same people over and over again, and everybody's suffering from their own burnout. So that's our issue here.
This is not a permanent thing, right?
No,
We're
it's
gonna
not.
give it a shot, see if it helps, see if it alleviates the workload, see if things get
If we can
better.
get through some of the craziness we're going through right now, you know, between the paint and the trees and the pavers and some of the other issues that have arisen, okay?
It's fair, it's a fair.
It's a fair, yes.
Just one question. When we got rid of Castle, okay, Karen did take on some extra responsibilities, is that correct?
You got rid of
That's-
I can't
Karen
speak
took
to
on
that.
some I don't know.
I don't know.
Castle,
Did Karen
Joe.
take on more responsibilities and Castle went away?
Yes, because that was one of the things, between Karen taking that on and between getting a new insurance company,
I don't think so.
accounting company.
She had to make out a payroll,
So
she had to
my
make out a
question
payroll
is-
before we castle.
My question is.
She had to send in the
what's
bills.
difference
If
between Castle-
anything, going from Castle to the way we are right now, she's spending less time.
No, actually, it's less time because
Castle's system was
she was actually working as an accountant with Castle.
so ridiculous, it was crazy. So I would say she's putting in less hours to do her tasks now than she did before.
There is nothing negative about getting rid of Castle, trust me.
Well, what I was saying is that, you know, but if she was doing, like you say she was screwed up, you know, Castle, whatever, or GRS, whatever you want to say, $23,000, is it, you know, are we saving $23,000 by having doing it ourselves? Or is it should a professional company be doing it instead of bringing in somebody who, you know, it's not.
Everything is being done outside. We don't do payroll. Payroll is being done outside by a payroll department.
We have an accounting firm.
Accounting firm is doing it. Her time is less after Castle than before.
Trust me.
We're not committing for perpetuity.
No.
We want to say, let's give this a shot, see if it helps. If after a month, we find that things have gotten under control, but there's just, you know, somebody said it earlier, there's way too much going on right now. And it's all on Karen. Every time you talk about pineapples, Karen's out running around in the golf cart looking for pineapples.
So what is Andrea doing? What is Andrea doing as an assistant, you know, Andrea's the assistant.
There is so
Spend
much
an hour in the office and take a
and
look.
you'll
I
see.
told you already, but
There is so much that goes on. We are running a multi-million-dollar company, okay? Think of it that way. Stop thinking of this as your little home. We're running a multi-million-dollar company. It has numerous projects and numerous things that have to be done, like any company, okay? No one is sitting and doing nothing. One of the biggest issues we have is the phone and people coming in, they have to be talked to, you know, and they come up with ridiculous questions and they want to be placated and they're not happy and someone has to soothe them down. Everybody is working. If you don't know what we do in this office, literally come and hang out for an hour and see. I mean that truthfully. I'm not being facetious. I'm not giving anybody a hard time. Come and sit there and watch what goes on with the kind of craziness that goes on a constant daily basis.
Let's get
A
through
lot
the
of
painting
people-
and
yeah.
let's get through the painting and the trees.
People feel very entitled, okay? There are a lot of people
Well
in
said.
this community who feel very entitled. and don't want to have no for an answer, and they want to only talk to Karen, and they want their issue handled like before they came in with the problem. Okay?
As I mentioned earlier, people that you've heard already, everybody calls it for a work order.
Right.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, the policy should be, we don't take verbals.
Nope.
Okay? We have the work order on the internet, we have the work order forms, take home a dozen and keep them in your pocket, your desk. And when you want to write it up, you write it up and slip it under, but they don't. So do you want to take the attitude, I mean, the people that have answered the phone know what's going on. We have a process for it, they don't want to follow it. That's true of the whole residence. That's not just one, that's the majority. Majority park on the wrong side of the street. Those rules don't apply to me.
No, not to me. I don't have to do that. I mean, I've sat in that office and heard people talk and go, well, I'm a resident here. You have to do what I want.
No, I pay your salary.
And I pay your salary.
I know.
Okay? Yeah. Okay. And that's not one or two people. Okay? It's the same people who are abusive to others. It's the same people who have been abusive to some of the people we have working in this community, some of the painters, some of the tree removers, etc. I cannot believe some of the comments I hear coming back that people have said to these people. It's disgusting, and people should be ashamed of themselves. We're not looking to do this on a permanent basis. I would like to try this for a 3-month trial.
Perfect.
Okay, that's what I would like to do. I would like to see if we can get it to work out. If things calm down, if it doesn't look like we need the person's not working out, if they're sitting in a room reading a book, they're not staying here. We're not paying for that. I'm sorry, yes, Jerry?
I think one thing you have to be careful of, I think with all of Karen's attributes, I would say her single best attribute is how she deals with our residents.
Yes.
And when she's locked behind closed doors, you're not taking advantage of her ability to interact with our residents.
Okay, but we are, we're not doing it, we're saying at 2 o'clock. The door closes at 2 o'clock.
But, you know, the community director is an important part of every community, and I think her ability to interact with our residents, I've seen it a lot firsthand, it's terrific. And so I think when you're talking about, Melissa was talking about reorganizing things, you need to look at a way to allocate the work, maybe involve the social director, take some of the burden wherever she can, but allow her time, Karen, to interact with our residents.
We have a social director for 17 hours a week, and we have a very big social and busy social committee. She helps out when there was no one there to help out, and she's great. She's proved herself worth her weight in gold, the fact that she just stepped up to the plate. But that's not her job, okay? So we need some other help. It's fine to say, and I'd love to leave Karen's door open, but people just drop by for no reason at all. They want to see. We have to have some rules. We have to have some time when she's going to have a closed door so that she can actually get done stuff that needs to get done. Okay? I've been there in times when I really need to talk to, until they had to say to people, you have to leave the office. I have to talk to Karen. You must leave. And they look at me like, what do you mean? I said, because we have to have a conversation that doesn't include you. Please leave. I mean, it's like ridiculous to me that I even have to have that conversation with somebody. Okay? But people have to understand she's there for them, and she will always be there for them. But we have to have her have the ability to close the door and do some work that can't get interrupted on a constant basis.
And there are so many, which seems minutia type items. We had to go up there the other day to sign a check. Karen's got to write a manual check, get us to come up and sign it, because we need to get a bill paid today because we needed transponders, for example, right? I mean, come on, those little things start to add up. All we're trying to say is let's give it a shot, see if it alleviates it as we get through the tree and the painting.
Yeah, right.
Then hopefully the wave is gone.
Right.
Is that fair?
Yes. Yes, Mike.
Mike.
What Melissa said before is very interesting. I have to agree with her. The problem is the lack of organization within the office. Part of that is job description. I mean, take for instance, as Joe said, with the work order. There's got to be a method where the work order comes in and they know to do 1, 2, 3, 4, not 1, 3, 5. And that's the problem.
Nobody
They're
should
doing
disagree.
things and they're not, they really have no direction as to how to do things correctly. That's what part of the problem is. There are too many things that transponders. There is no reason at all to run out of transponders. They should know when they get down to 50, they order, not that when they get down to 3. And that's part of organization of an office. It's not being run right. That's helping lead to the problem. Everything is on Karen, but if they have a set of procedures that they have to follow, hopefully they follow it. If not, you get somebody in there that's going to follow the procedures.
If you don't have those, by the way, then you shouldn't bring anyone in, because unless you can give them specifically what they are going to do
Well, I'm sure.
exactly, then why
It's
is
just
it?
perpetuating the problem.
Joe, do you have anything else to say?
They're putting out fires.
Yep.
Rather than,
Well said.
exactly what you're saying
Yep.
is
Well
100%
said,
true.
well
More
said.
organized, but they tried to get to the point of entering the freaking work order when it came in, and then 3 other things bust loose. They're putting out fires because there's too much being demanded of
Yep.
that office for the so-called 80 hours. And all that I noticed recently was it's affecting Maris's work, and that's why I brought it up. I'm seeing Maris spending time answering the phone rather than spending her 17 hours to do what social directors do. Andrea goes out for lunch for an hour, Maris is lost for an hour. I mean, you gotta just take a look what's going on there. So they're putting out, everything you agree is 100%, I agree with you, organization. I mean, as people know.
Karen can't spend the time to organize if she's constantly having to deal with crap.
When Andrea was out for the week with her, and I was sitting there, I was there every day. Wasn't the desk cleaned out, people that came in? Perfect.
Who?
Karen should not be the one doing the organizing. You have to have somebody come in there and say,
Right.
okay,
Well, maybe
this is
just
something
keep
that we're
personnel.
going to do.
Okay.
This is what
We're
going to do on
we're
that.
putting out fires right now. That's all I'm
Putting
saying.
out fires. Somebody's got to do a manual. So with everything that's done in that office. And it
Right,
can't
Lois.
be somebody who's working there. It has to be from the outside.
I see
That's what the
people,
board
oh,
is for.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Lois.
Mike, I'll get you after the meeting.
Lois?
I'll talk after the meeting.
I see people going into the office and sitting and spending time and schmoozing with Karen.
Yep.
And Karen has to be able to say, you know what, I have to get back to my work. Is there
Close the
something I
door.
can help you with?
While the
Because
door's
people
closed.
go in there, I see some of
No,
the same
but-
people all the time.
But that's why I say we close the door at certain times, because that will help them. I know.
You have to do that.
No, I know, but that's all part of it. Okay, anybody else? Any questions from the board? Okay, as I said, we were looking to do this on a 3-month trial basis. All those board members in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0, thank you. Myrna, can I have the sheet? Is there anybody on that?
Anybody needs to,
Well, I do.
don't talk anymore.
Okay. Okay. What? Nancy?
I don't want to add to the burden, but we have so many new people. When are we going to get a new directory?
You mean talking
Do we
about the
telephone
phone
directory?
That's
directory?
fair, that's fair.
Supposed to do it every 2 years.
But we're not even.
Joe, that was decided when we had very few sales. Now we've had so many.
That's fair.
My question goes, not what we used to do. When
Right.
will we get a new directory?
Well, we hire this new person.
No, seriously.
Hey, that is something
Yeah.
that
It
the new
might-
person
that-
could work on.
Yep. Okay. Nancy Williams?
Yes, I have a question.
Well, can you please stand up? We can't hear you.
Yes, my question is, what is the deal with the sprinkler system? Because we are not getting watered in the night, and yet I notice they're watering every day in front of the clubhouse. So are they watering just in the clubhouse and not the houses anymore? Because I have a lot of plants that need watered too, because I think they're watering every day, so the bees are wilting and they want to keep them going. But what about our plants and our grass? I'm having to water by hand in order to subsidize for when we're not getting water.
I don't know, I get
No,
water. I get water.
I got water the other day.
Yeah, we have problems.
Could you do me a favor?
Put that in as a work order.
Put it as a work order.
Seriously, I'm serious.
Could you do me a favor, come to me after
Put
the
in a
meeting?
work order.
Come to me.
Put in a work order
That's what you
to
have.
have your sprinklers checked.
Yeah, we'll get done.
No,
Because you're
it's
not
not just our
getting
sprinklers. It's
Could you
the whole
come to
street.
me after the meeting,
Yes.
please?
Okay, that is it. Okay, this meeting is now adjourned at 8:20.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
In the pool. Good, what's your address?
Thanks for talking to me.